So I went looking at some of my older images and I stumbled across this pretty bland picture of Boba Fett. This is the 40th anniversary Boba Fett Black Series, and I thought it might be interesting if I went in and gave it a bit of a tune up with a couple of techniques I've learned since I've been experimenting with Star Wars toy photography. So let's jump this over into Pixelmator and see how we get on. Okay, so here we are in Pixelmator, and I want to make a few improvements, especially to some of the lighting in this image. I can do that quite easily here. So what we're going to do to start with is we're going to duplicate this layer, and we're going to add some lighting effects to this layer. We're going to start with the curves layer, and we're going to boost some of those shadows right up. I'm going for a really dramatic sort of feel here. So I'm looking around the edges of the image really. I'm going to go to about there, and then we're going to use a layer mask to experiment with reducing some of that effect in the center of this image. So just by using a gradient overlay on that mask, I'm going to reveal some of the image that I'd like to look a little bit more lit. So we'll go there. This is the direction of the light if you look at the highlights on the Boba Fett helmet and on his chest plate. So I'm really leaning into that with what I'm going to be doing with this image. I like to boost some of these highlights with the dodge tool. So I'll go in, I'll set the dodge tool to a soft brush, and I'll just go over everything that's got a highlight, and I'll just hit it with the dodge tool just to make that stand out a little bit more, especially down on this chest plate there. So this is where I want to play with the lights that were coming in from that top left hand corner. It's worth noting that with the burn tool you can do the opposite to this with the shadows, and you can just hit the shadows with a burn tool and sort of make those a little bit more pronounced, a little bit more dramatic. But here obviously I'm playing with the light on the left hand side, so undo that a little bit. Yeah, so I just want to hit that with the dodge tool. I think that's pretty much there. That's kind of cool. Okay, so moving on from the dodge tool, I want to add some effects, and I'm going to go with some dust. I want some particles in the air, so I'm going to drag this dust image in. Now this isn't the color that I want, and obviously the light's coming from the wrong direction. The light we're playing with in this image is from the left, and here obviously this JPEG that I'm going to be using to add a bit of dust is lit from the right. So we're going to flip that on the horizontal plane, and then I'm going to change my blend mode to screen to get rid of everything black, and then we can see what we're looking at in terms of the dust that we're adding to this image. I want to change the color, so I'm going to go to not curves, I'm going to go to hue, drag the hue tool in, and I just want to get rid of some of that color. I just want it to kind of be cold. So yeah, all I'm looking to do really is I want to add those little particles in the air. I'm going to use the same masking technique with a gradient on the top of my mask to only reveal what I want to reveal from that left hand side into the image. So that's the light source off camera, and I want that light source to just pick up those bits of particulate matter in the atmosphere that's now hanging there in the image, in that sort of area there. So that I'm pretty happy with. Another light effect, I've got this shaft of light I like to use from time to time, so I drop that in. I'm going to put it underneath the particulate matter at the moment, and I want to screen blend that as well to get rid of the black. And again, I'm going to use a mask, and I'm going to hit that with the gradient just to reveal what I want as far into the image as I want. So that shaft of light now looks like it's just hitting Boba on the arm, on that chest plate, and obviously there's some overspill onto the face mask on that helmet giving him that that dramatic light. So I'll move that above the particulate matter. I think I really want that shaft of light to be quite obvious. So let's hit that with curves and brighten that up a tad. If we bring that down, it actually makes the edges more defined. So let's play with that for a little while. Okay. Right, I'm going to hit the particles a little bit, brighten those up. I want to just get the impression that there's plenty of light coming in from that corner. There we go. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I quite like that. All right, let's add a little effect. This is the fun stuff. So this little plate on Boba's chest has a digital readout. So we're going to add something in text. I do this every photograph I take of Boba Fett. I like to pop in a little phrase coded in Urabesh. Now this one's going to be straightforward. It's just going to say bounty hunter, but I usually change it up in any images I put out there of Boba Fett. I'll hide a message in. It's for my own amusement. I'll just reduce that text size a little bit and transform to rotate it so it fits into the aperture I'm intending it for. So I'll just need to free transform that. Make sure I'm on the text layer. Back to the text layer. I'll move that up so I can manipulate that easily. Okay, so I'll change that to shape. I'm going to transform it, and then I can change the scale. If I zoom it right in, you can see what I'm doing. I can change the scale so it fits into his readout a little bit easier. So just pop that in now. Accept those changes. And then we're going to go with another text layer, and this will just say hunter. So the top readout says bounty, the bottom readout says hunter. I'm going to want to make that into a shape. Make sure I'm on the right layer. That would help. Change that to shape, and then I'm going to free transform that so that I can rotate that. Not just one layer, I want the whole word down, and then we're going to get that to fit in to the digital readout. A little bit more room on that bottom one. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge these two layers together. Command E will merge those two together for me. The hotkey shortcut on this one's Command E. And then we're going to duplicate. We're going to hit that with a Gaussian blur at 5 pixels. And then the second layer, I'm going to boost that up a little bit to about 15 pixels. This is the same technique I use for lightsabers. I don't know how far I need to go with it. It's going to go a little bit too far. Usually I'd do 40 on the third layer. I'm just going to do 2. And then I give it the black background, and we'll merge those 4 layers together with Command E, and then I'm going to blend that screen mode to get rid of the black, and it leaves me with an RGB image I can manipulate to boost the reds and give it that glow of the digital readout. There we go. So now that his chest plate reads Bounty Hunter. Okay, let's have a look. Where do we go from here? So we're looking at this space here. I want to put some sort of feature in there because it's very, very bland. So I'm going to go into my FX folder, drag out my PNG of scorch marks, and we'll open that up a little bit. Now the thing is, I've used this plenty of times in other projects, and it's just a little bit too earthy for that wall. That physical set that I built, it looks a little bit more like stone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to desaturate it completely, take some of that color out, but I want to keep the effect, and I want to keep the black at the heart of that hole to make it look like a recent blaster hole, which we got there. And now it's just a little bit too sharp if you look at it in contrast to the wall. So we're going to hit that with blur as well, probably a couple of pixels of blur, maybe 4. and just soften that slightly. I'll add a layer mask and use the same gradient to just reveal enough of that blast hole to carry off the effect. That's all I need there. Yeah, that should do us. And then I'm going to add another effect to it. So I think that's a pretty good. It just looks like someone's taking a shot at Boba. Move it a little bit closer to him so it really sells how he's just had a close call. Pop that around about there. So now, because it's a fresh hole, I want to add a little bit of smoke to it. So I'm going to go back to my effects. I'm going to find my smoke folder, a new smoke PNG that I've picked up, pop that over the hole, and then I'm going to give that a little bit more scale, and I want to rotate it slightly. So I'm going to go to free transform, rotate, so the smoke is pouring out of that hole and going straight up. I'll just make that a little larger. Now, I think that's probably a little bit too defined for the background. So I'm going to bring the brightness of it down slightly so it blends in a little bit more. That should do there. And then I'm going to just blur it just slightly, maybe 4 points, a 4 pixel blur, see what that does. And then maybe I might just want to take down the brightness a little bit, but we'll come back to that. Okay, just going to refine with the with the burn tool. I'm just going to take some of these highlights down in this corner, trying to blend that light effect in with the environment just a little bit. Yeah, it's not too bad. And then we'll try and hit the highlights just to sort of pick out some of those particles a little bit from that overlay that I used. Okay, I'm just increasing the size of that particular overlay because I really want those particles in the air to sort of sell themselves. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. Let's, I think now we'll probably need to add, so let's collapse this together. We're going to merge this into one layer, and then I want to crop that down, because if I apply any effects, I want the effects to be applied to what we can see, not anything that's outside the frame. In particular, that's important when you come to applying sort of a vignette effect, because if there was material outside the frame, it's going to apply the vignette to that, and I want it to be a little bit more central around Boba and this scene that we've created. And that should be fine about there. I'm just going to grab my watermark, add my watermark to my image, reposition that, make sure that it's the actual watermark that I'm moving, and reposition that into its usual spot. And then I'm going to go into that light in the corner where I hit the vignette. It's sort of dulled down that shaft of light effect slightly, so I'm just going to boost it a little bit with my dodge tool, and we're somewhere near finished. That is not a bad, for a relatively bland photograph. We've ended up with this, which is slightly more dramatic. The light on the chest makes it more interesting, and we're telling a little story with that pothole in the wall with the smoke coming out of it. And this is what we started with, pretty bland, and this is what we ended up with. So that's augmenting an image, a stock image you might have forgotten that you'd even taken. That's pretty straightforward, nothing special, and just augmenting it slightly with some effects, and augmenting that lighting as well with certain techniques in layers, and layer masks. Okay, hope you got something out of that. If you like what you're seeing, like and subscribe, but you don't have to, that's up to you. I'll see you on the next one.